Good morning. I'm Ryan Grimm joining you here from the United States. It is early morning in the US. It is late evening in Lahore, Pakistan. This is a joint drop site and breaking news production. And we're very thrilled today to be joined by Aleema Khan. As many of you watching know, Aleema Khan is the sister of former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan and was at the recent protests that turned into a massacre. Thrilled to have her join us today to give her some of her perspective on what happened that night and also where things are going next. Aleema, first of all, thank you so much for joining me. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan, for having me on your podcast.
And before we get into the events of that evening and night, I think a lot of people are curious about how it is that you are able to communicate and on what basis you're able to communicate with your brother, and how people can know when messages are coming from Imran Khan, whether those are actually coming from him. First of all, when was the last time that you were able to see him?
Um, when did we see him? Yesterday. We
Okay.
were there in jail court yesterday. You see, I think since his cases started, what happened was, he had 200 cases on him
Hmm.
since 2.5 years. So they started the trial in the jail.
Hmm.
So they have a community center in the jail, so they set it up like a courtroom. So the various judges, and there were several judges who would come one after the other to convict him by January this year. So we were able to, I think, in a way, if I say it on television, they might stop it in Pakistan. But in a way, it was a great blessing because he's in isolation, like not like other prisoners in Adiala jail, because they all their cells open up for 12 hours in a day, and they're all in courtyards and they're outside
Hmm.
and they have communication with other people. But Imran Khan is in absolute isolation. So the courtroom actually offered him an opportunity to have human contact.
Right.
That really helped because even the policemen who guard him, they're not allowed to speak to him. There are several cameras, like they've installed several security cameras around him. So if any policeman is talks to him, or if any security people talk to him, and they feel that they've gotten accustomed, gotten accustomed to people. If he's nice to somebody in the security, they change the whole security detail. So the courtroom did offer an opportunity for the lawyers generally to meet him, and there are several lawyers who would come into courtroom, and of course the family. So when I say what is accurate when it comes out, we only bring out the messages that he gives to us. If he tells, and it's like three or four of us or five of us standing there, we try to remember,
Hmm.
all of us try to remember what he's saying. And then when we come out, so if I've forgotten something, they all sort of, we you lo- remember parts of it and try to
Hmm.
be as accurate as possible. So if he gives me a message or my family a message, then that's what we bring out. And that's all I do. I just bring his messages out. And I mean, I relate. My family's all there and we come out together.
How was he yesterday? What was his condition like?
It was a very short court. There was only about half an hour, 20 minutes. He spoke to the media,
Hmm.
and he gave us. He's fine. Like day
Hmm.
before yesterday, he was no 2 days ago. He was in a court which was like a 9th May trial for that terrorism court trial.
Right.
So there were about 80 people who were in the courtroom, who were like other sort of people who were also on trial, and there were 30, 40 lawyers. So we were there were like three cases that day. So we were in a smaller courtroom, and I thought that was so not nice because he was like a little cage at the back, and they brought him into the cage. Like, we really feel bad when they do something like that. So we said we are very unhappy that you brought him into a cage. There's no media there. And he went, and I said, there's an ATC trial. You should go there. There's a lot of people there. So he actually insisted and went to the bigger trial in the jail. And he was able to meet so many people. They said it became like a mini rally. And the
Hmm.
judge kept saying that you've got to all this noise is not acceptable,
Right.
and I'm going to close the case. But they all had, so they're all very excited that they were able to meet him. So that's what I'm telling you about why he's had access. So a lot
Right.
of lawyers have been going. Generally, he gives guidelines to his party people, to the lawyers, and he sometimes scripts it. He tells them what to write.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
assume that when he goes back to the party, they go back to the party that giving him, like,
It,
relaying the correct information.
it's an interesting contradiction that the government finds itself in, that they have, in order to keep him in jail, they have to continuously throw cases on him that are then dismissed, and then they have to throw new cases. But by throwing the new cases on him, that allows him access to people and to lawyers and to his parties.
Yeah.
It's an interesting problem that they have because they're trying to keep up this facade of some type of legitimate judicial system. But let me ask you about the protest. So the protest comes together for people who are watching this in the United States who didn't follow it minute by minute. This was what your brother called a final call, a major protest, bringing people from all over the country to Islamabad. What brought you to Dichok, to the square where the massacre finally unfolded, and what happened there?
Actually, he gave the call from, I mean, he says, this is only my second call. The first call he gave to the people of Pakistan was for the elections. He said, I remember we brought that message out and said, I'm giving this call to the people of Pakistan that you must come out and exercise your vote. You have to vote against a system of tyranny, and you have to stand up for your own rights. That was the first call. And he said, this time, I remember maybe a few days before that, I don't remember the date, he said, go and give the message to the people of Pakistan that this is only my second call that I'm giving, and this is my final call. So you must come out and stand up for the three conditions that, like, the three um, points that he tabled. One of them, the first one, was to release all the prisoners. He said, as a goodwill, because he'd actually given three-point agenda to the government for whatever, for talks. First was release of all the illegally incarcerated prisoners, the political prisoners, from 9th May. And during the various rallies and various points, they've got hundreds of people in jail and thousands of people who've got cases on them. Second point for him was the discussion on stolen mandate. It
Hmm.
cannot be put under the carpet. He wants a discussion. He wants to. It's a lot of seats got stolen, and the third point, of course, that he says the Supreme Court is now becoming like their slave too. I mean, you cannot bring the Supreme Court under the control of a dictatorship. But for this rally, he only raised one point. He says, as a goodwill gesture, because they keep sending him messages, they do send him messages through his political people.
Hmm.
And they say, we are going to release you, you have to agree to something. He says, let me see if you have goodwill. Because he was given bail by the High Court. He was given bail, and by night time they had put another case on him.
Right.
They will not let him out. He says, I, I do not trust them. They keep sort of, the moment there's a rally call or whatever, they keep sending more messages that, oh, just delay it another 10 days, 20 days. He said, no, this is my final call, and you will come to Islamabad. And I think his idea, what he told his Salman Akram Raja, who visited him on the 21st, we were there, but I don't know what he told him, and I asked him later on. He said, Imran Khan had said, you come to Islamabad and you stop along the way, basically. He did that in 2014. And let there be, it's like a leverage. We will have a discussion, otherwise we will go to D-Chalk. D-Chalk is obviously closer to the uh, prime minister's or
Hmm.
the president's house. So when they were like halfway into Islamabad, like on the periphery of Islamabad, again they sent a message in, stop wherever you are, we'll release him in 20 days. So there was obviously, what they do is, well, I don't understand. Why don't you give these messages earlier?
Right.
Why do you do it in the middle of a rally and create a confusion, send somebody to the prison? So what happens is when you send somebody to the prison, it's obviously they're quite smart. When you send somebody to the prison, when they come out, people don't trust this. You know how people are right now. Everybody's a watchdog.
Hmm.
So they don't trust whatever comes out. So they create that confusion. They're very good at it. As a result, the movement to obviously they went ahead with the movement to DCHOC, which is the center of really the next to the prime minister, the president's house. So, okay, so they proceeded. We were part of the rally. We were part of the rally from 10, we left home at 6, but by 10 o'clock, we were waiting for the rally. When they came in, we joined them. It was, um, it was a very pleasant occasion. There were women there, there were young children. My sister's granddaughter, she was 16, she was with us. My other sister was there. So you don't go out to commit terrorist
Right.
acts with children around. So there were a lot of young people around
Mm-hmm.
and older people, and it's PTI or Imran Khan's rallies are always a very family occasion, and they moved towards Islamabad. The only thing that we saw on the way were containers, and you know how the young people enjoy removing the containers, the
Hmm.
blockade. So they were removing the blockades, and they were victorious when they removed the blockade. We saw, I mean, I think I have pictures of it, policemen standing on the overhead bridges and waving. I mean, it
Hmm.
was a very goodwill. Everything was fine. So when the rally arrived onto the main roads, there was no police. There was some police. It was all very relaxed. Nothing was happening. And this was like an ambush. This
Hmm.
was like an ambush. Around 3:30, 4 o'clock, people started coming and showing bullet, like shells. They were
Hmm.
bullet shells. And then we all panicked and said they should withdraw, like they should come back. Where are these young people going? To a point that I was trying to say, what, there are snipers on the rooftops. Don't stand here. But the snipers were getting everywhere. A sniper has a range, I
Right.
suppose.
Hmm.
So, so if you told them withdraw, if you congregate, we saw bodies.
So
Let me say, tell you.
withdraw from D-Chalk, you were saying,
Like a
or
little,
just in
like
general to
the higher
disperse.
building. No,
Right.
there were two, three higher buildings.
Hmm.
There were high rises, not very high, but maybe 15, 20 stories, that the people on the road identified that this is where the shots are coming from.
Hmm.
So the idea was like you come back because this is where the snipers are. And they kept dropping bodies during the daytime. And this is
Hmm.
not when the massive operation started.
Right.
So we saw the bodies, and people were not willing to leave either. That was another problem. They were like so determined. I'm telling you, I said, I'm telling you, like you have to move back. They said, no, we will not
Hmm.
leave without Imran Khan. So it became a very challenging situation. And at night, then suddenly about 8:30, it became absolutely pitch dark. I've never seen so much darkness. And then they moved in.
I what we have heard from some sources on the ground there is that that the power was cut off in certain areas to make it so that it was pitch dark. Did you get the sense of that? What was your sense on the
Yes,
ground? Yes.
not a single light.
Hmm.
So as a result, there were cars over there, and these young people and older people were saying, "Turn off your car lights. You'll become like a target."
Hmm.
So people had to turn off their vehicle lights because they realized that it is so dark. I mean, I'm telling you, we were standing. If you use the word pitch dark, I mean, if you saw a tiny phone light, you could see it. So
Hmm.
people had to quickly turn off their phones. They turned off their car lights because then they became targets. They were
Hmm.
like snipers, so they had to turn that off. But it was really bad because when the operation started, it became really bad.
Now, what noises did you hear? Because there's been some discussion about the potential of armed drones being involved. Were there any? Did you hear any drones operating anywhere? What was the sound like?
Helicopters. We saw
Oh,
helicopters.
okay. Well,
We saw
helicopters are quite
helicopter
loud,
going.
so they would drown out the
Yeah,
sound of
but
the.
like
Yeah.
like in the daytime, we saw a helicopter moving
Hmm.
up, and sometimes you obviously assume it's surveillance. But there was so much tear gas actually.
Hmm.
When the tear gas happens, it's like a huge big cloud.
Right.
Rubber bullets, yes, you understand rubber bullets.
Hmm.
So the youngsters are used to it. They sort of come with gas masks. You know how it is when the
Hmm.
younger people get into a battle, they sort of pick up stones and they throw it back, or they pick up the cans and they have towels and they throw it back. So they've seen so much tear gas that they all come with a towel or salt or whatever. But we saw there were bodies. They were killing them from rooftops. Now, why would you kill protesters who aren't doing anything? They're sitting on a road. You intentionally shell them because they're not going anywhere. Why are you shelling them? Like, it's not that they're moving or you're blocking them from arriving somewhere. They were sitting on the road. When you throw tear gas and rubber bullets, you agitate the younger people, right?
Hmm.
Older people like us would go and sort of take shelter amongst trees. But the younger people will pick up the tear gas and throw it back. So you're intentionally agitating people. Why are you tear gassing them? You allowed them to come in. You greeted them. The military personnel sitting on containers greeted them. And then why did you start? So they were just right there. I mean, they were not going anywhere else.
How long did you stay at Dichok after the shooting started?
the 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 massive one.
Hmm.
I think we were there till about 9:30, 10, and that's when it
Did,
got
did the
worse
lights come back on at
afterwards.
any point?
No,
Okay.
no, but it got worse afterwards, and then there are eyewitnesses accounts that, and they were taking I mean, my driver came back and said, "There's a body lying over there.
Hmm.
In the pitch dark, you couldn't see the bodies.
Right.
There were people lying on the road, and then they would pick them up and they would rush them to PIMS Hospital, which was close by, one
Hmm.
of the government hospitals. And so the point is, first you shoot into the crowd, then you do a cover up. And what happened was when people went to the hospital, they would arrest people. From that point onwards, they, people have been asking and challenging the number,
Hmm.
we have no idea.
Right.
It could be hundreds because the real operation, 10, 15 were maybe had already died in the daytime.
Right.
So the massive operation was that the people were followed into streets. You would think it was like a terrorist. These were not terrorists. And I think for several days we were all so shocked. It's the capital of the city. It's not the borders. For this is I think for a few days it was a very big shock. And I think it's a very big mistake to do that to do that in the capital.
Hmm.
Uh, it's just been we are still very disturbed about it.
How has your brother responded to this? Was he shocked, or did he expect this level of retaliation?
Actually, they took away his one channel, which is Pakistan television, and they shut down the newspaper. So he really had absolutely zero
Hmm.
information. And to a point that we slowed down. We are very careful when we tell him, like, we are a little more trained that if he hasn't had contact for a few days, but this was 9 days, and there was short time. So when we started telling him, he was so shocked. He had no idea. He came back looking so happy, and we felt really bad. He
Hmm.
said, like I was told yesterday, maybe that. I said, no. And when we started telling him that we'd seen bodies and there were fires from the buildings, and we started giving him the details, he was so shocked that we actually slowed down. And like my sister said, like, "Well, we should wait for tomorrow. We shouldn't do more than that." It was that bad. He was
Hmm.
so stunned. He is one human being who, if you give him any news of somebody who sort of passed away or a worker, he remembers people from 1.5 year.
Hmm.
And this was a big shock. So he was very disturbed. Disturbed, I think it was very shocked that they fired sniper rifles, and then they did an operation, and we have no idea where they've taken the bodies away. But this will never remain hidden.
There's been some criticism internally within the party at some of the party leaders who left Dchok, and some of that criticism has been leveled at his wife, Busher Bibi, as well. There's been claims made that perhaps the massacre wouldn't have happened if some of the party leaders had remained with the people in the square. Do you believe that that criticism is valid? And what did you see when it comes to how that all unfolded?
There were a lot of MNA, the members of parliament. I met a lot of them on the road.
Hmm.
Like maybe they're not known faces. But, because we were standing over there, people did come up to us and meet us. So they came from Punjab. I met several from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
Right.
And there were people from Balochistan. They were from everywhere. And we met several of them. So you can't say that because they were not, because the container was shut down. That was I think the bigger problem was that the control center had no sound from 3 o'clock onwards, because I think
What do
what
you
they,
mean? This is the container where the party was trying to organize the operations.
this is the container, you see the container is where the leadership stands,
Hmm.
right? And everybody follows the container. The
Right.
container, when I say container, I'm sorry, it's the truck that has
Hmm.
the sound system and the lights.
Right.
So that is the center
Not a
point. It's the
shipping
nerve
container
center.
used to block the. I got it.
Well,
Right.
it is a container, but it is on a truck which sort of it's like an accommodation also. People sit inside
Right.
and then they go up to the top. And there's a sound system, and you control crowds, give directions. It's your control center.
Right.
So I think about 2:30, 3 o'clock onwards, when they got off the container, whoever, like everybody was on the container, and the container started moving ahead, and there was no sound. So there was no way. That's where the directions come from. So
Hmm.
from 2:30 onwards, there was no direction. The generator or something had gone. So everybody would come to me. I'd send them to the container, turn on the generator, call these people back. We really wanted to call them back. That contributed to it. Not about leadership, more about sound and light. When it was pitch dark and you couldn't see anything, it was so dark and there was no sound. So that could have contributed to it, but it doesn't take away from the fact that once the massive shootout started, it was a shootout.
Hmm.
There were bullets coming from every road, side roads, everywhere. It was like in the blind. So, what could anybody have done? Nobody would have done anything. Anybody that came in its way would have. People did move back later on. I mean, the people had moved back, but there were so many people. It's not that easy getting for them to move back that quickly. So the operation started, I think, around 11 o'clock. It really got bad 10:30, 11. So
Yeah.
I
And you,
don't know. It's just that they shouldn't have been shot at. Nobody. Why would you shoot them? It's like we are not in an enemy country.
now, you yourself were held in jail until fairly recently, and then you were released shortly after members of Congress, raised concerns about your case and others, members of the United States Congress. Um, are you getting any indications that you may be picked up again? Have others who were at this protest been picked up?
Yes, of course, they're picking
Hmm.
them up every
Hmm.
every day. Every day, it's become such a norm that people get picked up from, they disappear for a few days. At the moment, the problem of identifying how many people were killed in that Islamabad massacre is because there's thousands of people in jail. So what happens is because we get a lot of messages and a lot of our young people who are amazing lawyers, amazing teams. They turn up, they're standing at every police station trying to locate people. Hundreds of them working for this. So when the relatives turn up outside a police station looking for their relatives, they pick up the relatives. So they go from police station, looking for their relatives. So it's still a battle, the way they are juggling people around. So until every prisoner is not identified, their relatives are still looking for them.
Right. Right. What about you personally? Have you gotten any indications from the government that they're coming after you again?
Listen, every few days we hear that they're going to finish off Imran Khan in jail. That happens on a regular basis. We've gone past that stage. Imran Khan, if you talk to him and say, when we first got this, that he's going to be eliminated in a couple of months. This is, you know, how they work on the mind or whatever their games are. So we went and told him, I said, he says, listen, how many times do I tell you that life is not ours to decide? It's in the hand of Allah. When the time comes, I'll go. So why do you talk about it every time? You don't have to. So we, at the end of the day, we also told that maybe we'll get picked up. If we, when we came out, we were taken out of jail. We were in isolation in jail. We were not given, again, facility of what all the other prisoners have is maybe a television, a communal chat television, or a newspaper. So they still say, when we came out, they said, keep quiet for the next 10 days. I said, but where am I talking? I'm not talking anywhere. Basically, what they meant was, don't bring out Imran Khan's message. What they're saying is, do not bring out his message or tone it down. These have been messages. We received, and we have followed. We have followed all the time. We've got agencies. So that's why I say that if I say uh, uh, anything that, you know, I've got cases of cybercrime on me also. Anti-state, cybercrime, I don't know, I mean, incitement, terrorism. It's becoming ridiculous now. So people, so after 9th May, I must point out what I saw the difference after 24th, 26th, and 9th May. After 9th May, people were shell shocked, in total fear for months. This time, after 26th and the shootout, somebody asked me, I said, if you thought this was a pressure cooker, now it's really a pressure cooker. Now people are angrier than they were before that. So the anger is really built up. And it is not that people are going to be subjugated because of this unleashing of terror on them.
Yeah. And we keep hearing word of these negotiations that are going on between the government and Imran Khan, and maybe mediated by some other countries from outside. What are they asking for? Like when they say, "Okay, we will release you," what are they asking for from him, and what is he willing to give in order to get to some type of a deal?
Frankly, you know, we've heard nothing. You know, when they keep talking, we keep hearing these things, it's actually nothing. One day, we did hear something. They said, can Imran maybe regret that there was 9th May? But Imran Khan has always said that hold a joint investigation commission, set up a joint investigation commission, investigate whoever's responsible, please convict them. I mean, hold
And
them
this, for people who
responsible.
are watching who don't know the details, this is after he was arrested the first
Yeah,
time. There were then major protests, which there's a lot of evidence that were instigated by, state security forces, and then used
and
as a pretext to round up party workers and other activists.
there were a few buildings that were conveniently burned down. Everybody knows. If they bring out the CCTV footage, they'll know. And there were about 16 people, again, sniper rifle shot dead. 16 people died that time. But remember, there was a lot of fear at that time. Again, the families were threatened not to talk about it. As a result, that died down because there was fear. But watch this time. They are being threatened not to put up videos. The internet is very slow. You can't upload. But this time it's changed. This time people are not going to take this tyranny. It's just not going to go away. The people standing up for their rights is not going away.
Right. Does Imran Khan have any directions for people the diaspora outside of Pakistan, and what is his understanding of how the diaspora's role is playing into what's going on inside Pakistan? And what should people do?
Social,
Yeah.
social media
Hmm.
and diaspora. You see, Imran Khan, not today, this is not from today. You have to keep in mind that Shaukat Khanum, which was built in 90, from like, fundraising started in 1991. Imran Khan has been traveling all across USA, globally, to fundraise for the hospital and then for the university, the charity university, and for the hospital. So his connectivity to the diaspora is huge. And he has repeatedly said, and when he came into government, his biggest, not optimism, his plan, and he rightly was, that this was his plan, that the Pakistani diaspora will build Pakistan. They are the ones who are going to come and invest. He said exactly the way the Chinese and the Indians, diaspora, the expatriates returned home, brought back knowledge and investment. That is exactly his dream for Pakistan. So his connectivity to the diaspora is huge. He wanted to give them voting rights, and he has such high hopes for Pakistan based on the involvement of the diaspora. And the same way the diaspora loves him, I mean, Pakistanis overseas absolutely love him because he's given them the respect.
I can verify
And
that.
now, and now, and the most difficult time when Pakistan was in absolute trouble. I mean, people were scared. Women were being abused. People were being picked up from their homes. It was a very difficult time last year. At that time, it was the diaspora. It was the people, it was the Pakistanis across the world who kept the pressure, they kept standing, they kept protesting. They, they were so, I mean, the biggest support to Pakistan came from the diaspora. So of course there's a very important link, and again it'll be the diaspora Imran Khan is going to turn to, and he's actually made the call yesterday. He made the call yesterday, and the call is, and I think the international uh, sort of a lot of people are now getting together to formulate it. But he said, now I don't want people dying on the streets. You're firing sniper rifle. Come on, that's like, you don't do that. You don't want next time that people should come and pick up guns. He would be worried about that because that will happen. The
Right.
day you start shooting them on the street, they'll come armed next time. You don't
Right.
want that to happen. He doesn't want a confrontation. So what he has said is that now I will make a call to my overseas diaspora, and they have to, um, they're going to not send in the remittances. If you want to bring this government down, not send all their remittances, but let's say percentage, if they just have to hold back maybe 10, 15% or 20% of the remittances. And that's, this is what, because the relatives of the diaspora have been abused over here. They've been
Right.
threatened in Pakistan. You speak up in USA or in Britain or in Europe, your relatives get picked up in Pakistan.
Yes. Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
are
We've
very
reported
angry
on that at
too.
drop site. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of times they're
Very
threatened.
pervasive.
And in fact, they start calling them up overseas from Pakistan, the agencies, and threatening them that we'll pick up your daughter, we'll pick up your relatives. So they themselves are also very angry. But now he says that you've got to come together actually to make a contribution. It's your own money.
Right.
Just don't send back a percentage of it for the next 3, 4 months. Like, because they sent funds to Pakistan to their
Right.
relatives,
It's
to
the
the
thing that
families
keeps
every month.
Pakistan going. Yeah. Yeah.
15, 20%, don't send it for 3, 4 months. It's called, he's saying it's civil disobedience.
Right.
There
Wow.
was a lot of debate on it, but why not?
Right.
First, you respect the people that are supporting this country. They send 12 billion or 20 billion every year. So they should have some value and respect in Pakistan. So let them feel the value of our overseas Pakistanis'
Interesting.
contribution by them stopping it, just withdrawing a percentage of it every month, and let them feel how it hurts.
Wow, interesting. Well, Aleema Khan, thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for having me.